Hello everyone! This is part 2 of the house that I was building from the previous video. This time I'm building the interior of it. Hope you guys enjoy! To start off with, I was experimenting with different flooring. I wanted it to be a bit darker at the beginning because the walls are really light and so were the curtains. I wanted to make the floor darker and experiment with patterns a bit, but it didn't really work out that well. So I went with mud bricks first. When it came to the kitchen area, which is the little area in the back, I wanted to have different flooring for the kitchen, but in the end I liked the kitchen flooring so much, so I decided to use it on the rest of the house. The kitchen flooring is just upside down barrels. That's why I'm going underneath them so much. It's a very nice texture. It gives off the same vibes, I guess you could say, as the tops of beehives. It gives it a nice wooden finished floor feel, and that's why I decided to go with it. While I was making the flooring with the barrels, since I had to have 2 blocks underneath to be able to place them upside down, I had a gaping hole underneath, so this is my first time using weld at it. It was very fun experimenting with it. It works really fast to fill in big holes. To finish this little area off, I added some dividers to define the room layout I wanted and some little details on the walls. To make the interior look a little bit more interesting, I added a division in the middle to give it some variation of levels. I wanted the level to overlook the living room. My initial idea was that the living room was right outside of the kitchen, but as I was building the little division, it didn't look quite right. So instead I put it in a different way. Although I do miss the trapdoors that I put down on the first version, it definitely made it look a little bit more interesting. I think I just forgot about the trapdoors at that point. I should have definitely put them back. The living room then was also changed to be over at the far end of the cottage because I thought it would look really nice to have an overhang looking at the living room. In the living room itself, I wanted to have a nice little campfire. Not campfire, sorry. I wanted to have a fireplace as the centerpiece of the living room. I had a very nice little nook built for it with the division of the room that I built at the start. It fit perfectly there because there was no windows and I could build it outwards a little bit. Once I built the fireplace, I started adding a little bit of detail, which is mainly just texturing so that it doesn't all blend in together. You can't even really see the wall that I put on it because it's just the same exact color. I added some buttons to it and copper because I think it looks pretty well. It looks pretty good with diorite. I'm not very good at color theory, as I have mentioned before. So I'm not very good at picking out colours really. But I think here I did a fairly good job. Moving on from the fireplace to start working on the living room, I began by making a little rug in the centre. I decided to use red because it pops out the most, and most of the build is very like brown, white with like some green, and they all kind of blend into one another, and that little colour of pop that I mentioned in my last video. I wanted to add the red as my accent colour in my interior. For the couch I used quartz, and I wanted to add banners as like cushions, but for some reason it just would not work. I tried doing this like a lot in the past, but it just would never work out. So instead of torturing myself by trying to add little cushions with banners, I decided to scrap the idea. Next to the campfire, I wanted to add logs, so I used oak wood with campfires, put out campfires, to make it look like logs for the fireplace. Next, I did the kitchen and made an arch with my favorite new block, which is the shelf. which is the closest thing to a vertical slab. I love it and live by it. This arch is my favourite thing of all time. I use it quite frequently. For the counters, I use crafted beehives, and for the sink, I use the good old classic cauldron. I wanted to add a little faucet to it, but I couldn't put it onto the glass pane behind it, so I moved it one over so I can put it on the wall instead. Because I couldn't place a tripwire onto the glass pane, I decided to play around with a mod that I have, which is the armor stand. I quite frequently watch Hermitcraft, and I saw them build amazing stuff with armor stands, and I wanted to try it out, but I couldn't figure it out for the life of me. So instead of struggling with the armor stand, I just moved the cauldron one over so I could put the tripwire onto the wall behind it. To end off with the kitchen, not entirely, but with this section of the video, I just added a little bit of detail, like a little pressure plate for a cutting board, and also did the flooring. I landed on quartz pillars with mud blocks. For this little section of the house, I didn't want to leave it bare, so I added a nice little bookshelf. I struggled with the design of it a little bit because I didn't think I had enough room, but in the end I did, and it blended into the flooring above, which made it look like supports. So I got rid of one of the supports next to the couch, and that was pretty much all that I added there for now. I struggled quite a bit with the entryway. I didn't know exactly where to put the coat hanger. Wherever I put it, it just didn't seem quite right. In the end, I asked my sister what she thought about it, and she helped me out with placement. She's better at interior than me in like every game. Sadly, you won't be able to really recreate this coat hanger without a debug skin. I'm not sure if you can recreate this in survival mode, but I'm sure there are other designs out there if you wish to recreate this entryway. The wall in front of the living room looked a little bit bare, so instead of the support beam going through it, I decided to make a windowsill for the singular window, and it gave a nice little windowsill to decorate on top of it. I put a lantern on there and just called it a day. For the little table in the second living room reception, you could say, I did have to use a reference because I really suck at furniture. I also really like to use banners as armrests instead of sides. It gives the chair a little bit more life to it, in my opinion. And that's about all that I did for the little reception room / dining area. Yeah, back to the kitchen we go. I added some details. I added dark oak fence gates to look a little bit more polished, like supports on top, and some barrels on the other side of the kitchen for some storage. I tried to use shelves as a food storage, but it didn't really look nice. It looked really crowded, so instead I went for the nice little classic cake. And finally, we go to the last room in the house. At first, I placed some beds down in the little nook and gave it a nice, like, what's it called? Bed hook? No, bed rest? Thing at the end of the bed. I forgot what it's called. To make it look a little bit nicer. Next, I didn't really like the fences at the end, so instead of fences, I used hanging dark oak shelves. Moving on, I did add a little red carpet in the middle, just for some colour variety, and started building a wardrobe. I added some armour stands in there to put some armour on there as clothing. I tried to dye it, but it didn't work. I forgot how to dye leather armour. To the side of it, I thought the wardrobe looked a little bit small, so I added some barrels with doors to enlarge it to make it a little bit wider, and instead of the netherite armor that I put there, I instead put a chest to make it look a little bit better, and I accidentally put the leather boots on and never noticed. For some decoration, I added a flowering azalea leaf tree into the corner right next to the wardrobe, and added the same table as in the dining / reception room downstairs. I don't know who made this table, but if you somehow managed to find this video, do let me know so I can credit you. It's a really, really nice table. while the interior tour is going on, I just wanted to talk a little bit about myself and the upload schedule of this channel. The upload schedule will be very inconsistent. I do enjoy doing this. It's more of a hobby. I don't really expect to blow up or anything like that. The reason it took so long for me to finally get to editing this video, I just have a lot going on in my life, and I only really get to do this whenever I have the free time. And I don't want this to become a burden, so my schedule will be very sparse. That's pretty much it, really. Like, I just want to build and share it with the world. And one last thing to mention is I also made this channel to help articulate myself better. My speech isn't that good in both of my languages. Yeah, that's it really. Thank you for watching and see you later. Bye bye!